Good evening, Bahamas. On the broadcast tonight. The Free National Movement chairman defends the selection of several cabinet ministers from previous FNM administrations. Plus, a former Progressive Liberal Party candidate says the party will bounce back from its devastating defeat at the polls. And we count down to our quote of the week.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news, the weekend edition, and thanks for joining us. I'm Andrew Knowles. As it stands, the 19-member cabinet has been set under the new administration of Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis. However, certain cabinet selections aren't sitting well with some Free National Movement members who say they want fresh new faces instead of the same old, same old. Well, FNM Chairman Sidney Collie says people need to open their eyes and see the bigger picture. April Sands tells us more in tonight's top story.
The Minnis administration is catching flack on social media for choosing to go with old faces from the last Ingram cabinet, like Brent Simonet, Carl Bethel, Dion Folks, and Desmond Bannister, leaving some of its young candidates on the backbench. But Chairman of the FNM, Sidney Collie, isn't fazed by the commotion over the newly appointed 19-member cabinet. He says that's utter nonsense, as people are only focusing on a select few.
That's foolishness. The cabinet has 19 members. So far, there are 5 parliamentary secretaries to be sworn in on Monday, and only 4 members of the cabinet have previous cabinet experience. So 15 are new faces. Those persons who are saying that need their heads examined.
His response comes after Long Island MP-elect Adrian Gibson expressed his disappointment in the lineup of cabinet members that didn't include him. Gibson said yesterday he respects the Prime Minister's decision, but he is only human. His constituents on Long Island have made their disappointment clear as well. But Collie says not everyone can sit at the cabinet table.
There are 35 members of parliament for the FNM elect. There are only 15 portfolio cabinet positions and 4 junior ministers' positions and 5 parliamentary positions. That's well below the amount of persons elected to parliament. And so the Bahamian people will not tolerate a 35-member cabinet. And so everybody can go in the cabinet, but every elected member will participate in the government on one level or another.
Collie says there's no need to worry, though, as everyone will have a role to play in this government, whether appointed to cabinet or not.
The selection of the cabinet is finished. That's done. Those cabinet ministers have been sworn in, and for the most part, except Desmond Bannister, who will be sworn in on Monday, they have taken their position in their ministries. That is finished.
Reporting for our news, I'm April Sands.
Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis is set to name his Senate and parliamentary secretary picks on Monday. Prime Minister Minnis told the press that he had hoped to have those senators sworn in this past week.
We were hoping to do it on Friday. However, the PLP has not decided yet who's the leader of the opposition. And therefore, we are bottlenecked. We cannot move because in the Constitution, there are at least about 3 senators that we must consult the leader of the opposition.
PLP interim leader Philip Davis was sworn in as leader of the official opposition on Friday. In addition to those senators and parliamentary secretaries, Desmond Bannister will be the final cabinet minister to be sworn in. Bannister will become the Minister of Works. According to a statement released by Cabinet, Bannister was not sworn in last Monday with other cabinet ministers as he had to deal with some personal issues before taking on the substantive post.
He, along with all the senators and the parliamentary secretaries, would be sworn in on Monday.
Cabinet ministers Dion Folks and Carl Bethel will all take on Senate posts. Minnis did not name his other Senate picks, but he did say this.
Probably be about 6 men and 6 women. We're trying to prepare for the future. So there will be a few young people, intelligent people that I think have great future, and we're preparing them for tomorrow.
Well, former Progressive Liberal Party candidate for Freetown, Wayne Monroe, says party supporters need not worry about the state of the political organization. He said the recent resignation of former PLP leader Perry Christie days after the party's crushing defeat at the polls doesn't mean the end, and he doesn't encourage the party to rush the process of finding a leader. Kyle Joaquin tells us more.
Voters were left stunned on May 10th as constituency after constituency fell in the FNM's win column, leaving the PLP holding on to just 4 of 39 seats, the biggest defeat for the party to date. But Monroe said the PLP's ability to bounce back is nothing to worry about.
This has happened before in 1997. It has happened to the other party as well. In fact, for the most part of their early lives, they took serious beatings one after another. The first thing the party is impressively not doing is panicking. The people have spoken. You have to absorb what the people have said. You have to study what the people have said. And then you take steps to move along. And certainly that is something that everyone has to do.
Aside from Freetown, Monroe said there's a lot of work ahead for the PLP. He said while there may be mixed feelings about the appointment of Philip Davis as interim leader, there will soon come the time when the party will elect a new leader. However, he said he doesn't see the need for the party to move with haste.
I don't see necessarily the need for panic. We're an orderly organization. The rules permit for a deputy leader for this exact same purpose. So if there's a hiatus, there's somebody who steps in while you go through until you arrive at the processes which you will formally elect a leader.
Former West End and Bimini MP Obi Wolchcombe and new opposition leader Philip Davis have both expressed an interest in leading the party, once Christie stepped aside. Wolchcombe has since lost his seat in Parliament and announced plans to run for party chairman at the next convention. Then there's former PLP MP Alfred Sayers, who challenged Christie at the party's last convention, but was slaughtered. We asked Monroe who he'd like to see make the run for PLP leader.
It's not so much a matter for me identifying persons. It's a matter, one, for the person himself or herself must examine himself or herself and see that he has a vision for it, that he or she has a desire for it, that he or she has the commitment for it, and then to do what would be sensible in an organization like the PLP, sound out whether or not there is support for your position, and if there is support for your position, then to start to do what is necessary.
He may have lost the Freetown battle to now Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar, but Monroe said he's looking at the glass half full. The attorney plans to stick around and be another voice for the people of that area.
We have some plans, in my case for Freetown, that we're still going to seek to act on. Not being in government will make it a bit more challenging. The only challenge not being the Member of Parliament does is that you do not have a constituency allowance and you do not have a constituency allocation, but that will not stop us doing the things that we feel we need to do. At all times, I intend to communicate to the Member of Parliament for Freetown if I see there are some things that he ought to consider doing for the constituency, because it shouldn't be about personality.
Reporting for our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, we'll take a break here, but still ahead tonight. Find out if the former Tall Pines Member of Parliament has any leadership aspirations in his party. That story and more when our news returns.